Quantum Suicide Tag 9 und heute fangen wir mal mit der weiblichen Timeline an, da wir hier irgendwie stuck sind. Ja, wir wissen, dass es 5 Wörter gibt für die Override-Sequenzen. Wir haben aber leider nur 2 Wörter. Also irgendwas muss es hier geben.
How's our little ray of sunshine doing this morning?
Ist aber auch mal wieder schön, dass wir ein bisschen was vom Anfang haben, weil daran kann ich mich auch nicht mehr so gut erinnern. Dadurch, dass das schon einen Monat her ist oder so. Naja. Mal gucken.
Still unconscious, but their vitals are stable. With any luck, our patient will wake up today.
Does this mean that I won't get to lovingly sponge bathe them anymore? I've enjoyed it so much.
Beatrix, what you do on your own time is none of my concern.
Nicholas, look!
Terror.
Terror.
Water, Beatrix, water. I'll go fetch some while you perform the basic cognitive tests.
Where am I? I cleared my throat a few times. An unfamiliar voice emanated from a parched throat in a harsh croak.
It's about time you woke up. Good morning. Let me be the first to welcome you aboard the Everett. My name is Beatrix Vogel. I'm one of the medical officers here.
I'm sorry, but what's going on here? Wait, the Everett? This is the Everett? The last thing I remember, I was in the escape pod and... I paused. I didn't remember much of anything, only brief snatches of conversation and the odd glimpses of mathematical equations, but none of it made sense.
Whoa, slow down, sailor. The captain will debrief you once we've given you a clean bill of health. But until then, you're not going anywhere.
Yup. You have blonde hair? I reached for Beatrix's golden hair, which poured over her shoulder in gentle curls.
I know. Glorious, isn't it?
I've never seen blonde hair before. Can I touch it?
I guess I've still got it. Why don't we go ahead and find out how you're doing before you try to ravish me, though, alright?
I nodded at her weakly, had the wuzzy from the movement.
Perfect. So, first question, how many fingers am I holding up?
None, you don't even have your hands up.
Well, someone doesn't have a sense of humor. Perhaps it was damaged by your concussion. Not good with comebacks either, I see. Moving on. Okay, next question. Are you a man or a woman?
I think that's pretty obvious.
It's to test your basic recall. Just play along.
I am a woman.
You most certainly are, and quite an attractive one at that.
Nice. Thank you?
No, thank you. It's nice to see a fresh new face around here.
Are you sure it's not your vision we should be concerned about? Beatrix fixed her intense gaze on me for a moment, slowly drawing her face closer to me. Finally, unable to keep a straight face any longer, she burst out laughing.
A comedian. I like that.
Water, as requested.
Ah, da hat es ein bisschen versucht, zu Schüssen-mäßig zu machen. Ist das neu? Huh.
Nicholas, excellent timing. This is my extremely handsome little brother Nicholas.
Nicholas nodded modestly. I rose to a sitting position in a bed and accepted the preferred glass of water, downing it only in a few greedy gulps.
Nice to finally meet you. My sister already beat me to it, but I'm Nicholas Vogel, Beatrix's younger brother. She's only 2 minutes older than me, but she's never let me forget it.
It's all right. Don't be afraid to stare. We are well aware that we won the genetic lottery.
Nicholas rolled his eyes at his sister in mock exasperation. I tried to contain myself.
Nicholas, this is,
You didn't even ask our patient her name. Honestly, Beatrix.
whoops.
Beatrix lifted her shoulders in a dismissive shrug before turning her attention to me.
So, what is your name?
Jordan? So, gehen wir wieder wie vorher. Hier den Namen Caps Lock. Sie nicht schreien müssen. Name Datte.
Well, it's nice to see you awake at last.
Thanks. With pleasantries now out of the way, Nicholas turned his full attention to me. As he held his finger firmly against my wrist to take my pulse, he shined a torch in my eyes with his free hand. The bright beam left black and green spots lingering in my field of vision long after the torch had been extinguished.
How are you feeling?
Ja, sagen wir mal, es geht uns gut.
Well, you have been unconscious for 4 days, so I guess it stands to reason that you feel that way.
4 days?
We picked you up a few days ago. Your pod was drifting through space when we recovered it. Pupils are reacting normally. There's no apparent loss of fine motor skills, and you seem coherent. Are you experiencing any dizziness or nausea?
No, I feel fine.
Of course you do. We've been slaving over you for the last 4 days. I hope you're grateful.
Don't mind her. I think she secretly enjoyed having an actual patient for once. Are you currently experiencing any other symptoms?
The lights in here hurt my eyes and I can't seem to remember much of anything. I know who I am and how to speak. I could talk your ear off about the theoretical impossibility of perpetual energy, but everything else is fuzzy.
That'll be the concussion. Give it time.
By the way, Beatrix, I've taken the liberty of informing the captain that our patient is awake.
She'll be down here in any moment now to debrief her.
We haven't even cleared.
She said it was top priority. Given everything that's happened this last week, well, you can understand why.
There's no need to defend her, Nicholas. We both know whose fault this really is.
Not now, Beatrix.
Eyebrows furrowed, Nicholas leaned in towards me. When he spoke, his deep voice was hushed.
Before the captain arrives, I want to warn you not to.
Nicholas.
I'm sorry.
Die Transition gab's wirklich am Anfang noch nicht, oder? Das fällt mir gerade so auf. A woman with an undeniable air of authority and wearing a tightly wound braid marched into the room. Ignoring everyone else, she glared at me with cold, steely eyes. It felt as if my heart skipped a beat.
So, you're awake at last. Nicholas, report.
Pained expression briefly flickered over Nicholas' features before he composed himself and turned to face the captain.
All vital signs are normal and stable for now. I'd like to run a few more tests to be sure, but all things considered, it appears we've picked up quite the healthy specimen.
How's her memory?
As of right now, not very reliable, but I believe it will return shortly.
You're both dismissed.
Captain, we've been...
Save it, Beatrix. You can brief me later. Out.
Let's go, Beatrix.
Beatrix and Nicholas departed, leaving me alone with two strangers. I've deduced from their brief conversation that the individual with the dark hair and stormy eyes was the captain. But the other figure remained in a dimly lit corner of the room, her hands neatly folded together.
My name is Kimiko Yukimori. I am the captain of the Everett. You are currently aboard my ship. Now,
What's going on?
let me make this crystal clear. I will ask the questions and you will answer them. Understood?
I nodded, unsure how else to respond to her sudden hostility.
Why are you here?
I-
What do you know about the deletion game?
I have no idea what you're talking about.
I see. That's a shame. I had hoped you would cooperate.
I'm trying to. I honestly don't have any clue what's going on here. The last thing I remember, I was inside the shuttle and then... Come to think of it, that's about all I can remember.
You're wearing our uniform. We're light years away from any habitable planet, in deep space. I don't know how or why you did it, and quite frankly, right now I don't care. But you need to fix whatever you did to our AI this instant.
I can't help you. There's been some sort of misunderstanding. I can tell you this, that the name is Kaname Date. I was born on that shuttle and I've lived there my entire life. Didn't even know there were other people still out here.
What did you do to our artificial intelligence system?
Kimikos Voice Actor klingt hier noch ein bisschen anders. Später kommst du mir so vor. What?
Maybe this will spark your memory.
Yes, Captain.
Uh-oh. The heretofore unidentified person emerged from a darkened corner of the room, advanced towards me, and bowed deeply. The soft features, glittering hair, and pleasant smile put me at ease to the point that I was only slightly perturbed when I realized I could faintly see through her. She was a hologram. Wow. I always knew that our shuttle's interface was a modified version of something far more advanced, but we never had the spy power necessary to use the AI. This is genius. Is she hard light or soft light?
Hello, my name is I. I am the Artificial Intelligence Unit aboard the military spacecraft designated the Everett. Pleased to make your acquaintance.
Nice to meet you too.
As to your question, I am a soft light hologram. I am unable to interact with the physical world at this time. The Everett's mechanical engineer, Yoshiki Sasaki, is currently working on developing a hard light application for me.
Amazing. Love to get the chance to take a look at your programming sometime.
That's not going to happen anytime soon. As of right now, you are still considered a security risk. Answer me truthfully. Do you wish harm upon anyone on this ship?
What? No.
Very well then.
I am sorry to interrupt, Captain, but I have just received new information about this person.
Explain.
Captain, there is a translocator chip bearing the Everett's ID signature inside this person.
Pulling up her personal file now.
Name: born 9th June 2097. Parents: Patrick and Deborah, first-generation researchers, studying quantum theory. Departed Earth aboard the Everett, year 2092.
Also nach 5 Jahren. Das erste Kind.
Departed the Everett on 12th December 2098 in a shuttle. All three presumed deceased. I was unable to retrieve this information earlier because the chip's firmware had not been updated for several decades. It was not until I was in closer proximity that I was able to sense the signal.
Several decades. Wir sind gegangen, als wir 1 Jahr waren. Das heißt es, dass wir etwa 20, 30 sein sollten? Würde ich mal vermuten.
What? So you're telling me that our intruder is actually the child of first-generation researchers?
Affirmative.
The captain huffed. She paced around the small room for a few moments, her face a picture of concentration. Before long, she resumed her questioning. Except this time, her voice took a curious tone, devoid of its earlier abrasiveness.
Where are your parents? Did something happen to them?
Wie so ein kleines Kind. I don't remember.
That's a shame. From what Ai has told me over the years, your parents were quite the scientists. Brilliant, yet some of their theoretical models were considered...
Insane?
I was going to say impossible.
Don't remember much, but from what little I do remember, I wouldn't say that their theories are completely beyond the realm of possibilities.
Well, you've got your whole life to figure that out. If we all work together, I'm sure you'll manage it somehow. Provided we can get out of this mess first.
We?
Welcome aboard the Everett.
As of this moment, you are officially a part of the Everett's crew. Prepare a room for our guest here.
Yes, Captain.
For now, you will not be permitted to leave your quarters. Do you understand?
Yes, Captain.
Respecting your superior officers already. I might come to like you yet. I apologize for my hostility, but this is my crew, my ship. It is my sworn duty to protect them and our mission at all costs. I needed to determine whether you were friend or foe.
And what have you decided?
I'll let you know once I've made up my mind. Now, come along. I'll escort you to your quarters. Please follow me.
I groaned as I slid out of bed and shifted my way onto my weakened limbs. My knees ached. Ich weiß nicht, wie man das ganz ausspricht. And I began to feel lightheaded as soon as I stood up. The captain grasped my arm in a steady grip and led me out of the medical bay and into a cramped metal corridor. After guiding me down a series of hallways for what seemed like an eternity in my debilitated state, I was relieved when we finally stopped in front of a hexagonal door. Upon our arrival, the door slid open with an audible beep. I stepped inside and took a look around my new living quarters. Although the room was tidy and functional, I was surprised to find that I had mixed feelings about it. While it was certainly more spacious than my personal quarters on the shuttle, it felt oddly impersonal. The only redeeming feature was the sprawling window that stretched the length of the room, offering an incredible view of deep space.
Here we are. I hope that you find these accommodations acceptable.
I get a feeling I know the answer already, but what if I don't?
Then I suggest you write up a formal complaint. Unfortunately for you, however, we don't plan to set up a complaint desk anytime soon. So keep it under your hat.
Surprised me with a smirk.
Please try to find a way to pass your time in here productively. Perhaps work on getting more of your memory back. There are also some manuals and handbooks covering safety protocols, and basic ship information that you might be interested in, if you wish to learn more about the Everett during your confinement period. I will send someone to bring you food. But whatever you do, do not leave this room.
So haben wir jetzt Yoshiki als erstes getroffen. For a good answer, the captain left without so much as a backward glance, leaving me standing awkwardly in an unfamiliar room on an unfamiliar ship filled with unfamiliar faces. Well, at least it's nicer than a prison cell.
The ship's prison cell actually looks very similar, except the walls are painted a different color, there are no windows, and it locks from the outside.
Huh. Wait, where did you come from?
As we previously discussed, I am a hologram. I am intimately connected with the entire ship and can manifest myself at will in any area. Do forgive my sudden intrusion. The captain has given me strict orders to keep you under surveillance.
Of course she did.
Is there anything that you immediately require?
Da kann sie nicht helfen, da kann sie nicht helfen. Ich will Eis.
Rations are particularly low at the moment. You will have to wait until the designated mealtime to receive your allocated food allowance.
And when that's going to be?
Dinner will be served in 3 hours and 46 minutes.
Awesome.
If you'll excuse me, I have other duties to perform. I will maintain surveillance on you at all times, however, so please do not try to leave the confines of this room. I will return shortly. Please make yourself comfortable in the meantime.
With a flicker, I vanished from the room and I was left alone once more. I ambled around the room for about 10 minutes, inspecting various items, flipping through books, but nothing managed to alleviate the deep sense of unease gnawing away at my insides. Finally succumbing to boredom, I laid down on the bed and admired the stars framed by the window. You'd think that a lifetime spent observing stars and galaxies as they drift past your window would diminish the beauty, but it doesn't. I'm not sure whether I watched the universe sail by for minutes or hours, but before I knew it, I'd already fallen asleep.
Yahoo!
Ja, war schon ein bisschen so ein krasser Unterschied zu den anderen Charakteren am Anfang. Huh? My eyes dragged open, straining against the mild light. A young man stood over me, his cunning face lit up like a kid celebrating his birthday. The unexpected visitor was wearing an outlandish green bow tie with a pink pair of braces. I suddenly realized that he was the first member of the crew I've seen out of uniform. He sure made a hell of a first impression.
Good morning, sleepyhead.
Good morning.
It's not even morning. Why would you say that?
Du hast doch angefangen. What?
I'm just playing with you. With that being said, it's dun-dun-na-na, dinner time. I brought you your dinner. Ta-da!
The man gestured extravagantly to the meal set upon the nearby table. I grimaced as soon as I saw the meager amount of food on the table, on the plate.
Well, I thought it would suck to have to eat alone. So I got permission from the good old Cap to let me keep you company while you eat.
Thanks. That's very kind of you. Is this the amount of food we have rationed?
Kinda.
Kinda?
Well, originally there was more food on your plate, but you were still asleep when I came to bring it to you, so I kinda, sorta ate a whole bunch of it.
Und natürlich ist uns gleich das Essen weg. I'm starving. Why would you do that? I haven't eaten a proper meal in nearly 4 days.
Sorry, I just really love beans.
I guess that's alright then. I don't actually like beans all that much.
Really? It's like we were made to be friends.
The energetic man made himself comfortable on the nearby sofa as I began to eat. I shoveled the food down with my fork, subsequently reminding myself to save it, but failing miserably as my insatiable hunger urged me onward.
Oh, I completely forgot. My name's Yoshiki, by the way. Yoshiki Sasaki. I'm the mechanical engineer and a Gemini. I'm 21 and a half. I love beans, building stuff, and mischief.
It's quite an introduction. Let's see. My name's Kanamedate, and I guess I like... extended periods of silence. Oof. I don't really remember what I like. Sure, I like something, but...
Don't worry about it. I can help you find new things to like. We can be best friends.
I don't think I've ever had a friend before. Not that I can remember. As I said the words, I felt a pleasant warm sensation spread throughout my chest. Friendship, huh? Even though I cleaned every last morsel of my plate, I still felt ravenous. So, are you allowed to tell me anything about what's happening? I know I'm the Everett, but apart from that, I've got no idea what's going on.
Oh, you don't know?
Know what?
I probably shouldn't say. The captain would kill me.
Promise I won't tell.
Really?
Really. Now spill the beans.
Okay. Just
Beans.
promise me you'll remain calm while I tell you.
I nodded, eager to learn more. Yoshiki cast a hesitant glance in my direction before continuing.
When we picked you up, the AI system went on the fritz and started informing us that we'd exceeded the Everett's crew capacity, in light of the amount of food resources we still had on board. These big red alarms went off and everything, lights for alarms that I didn't even know existed.
So, how do we get more resources?
That kinda isn't the problem.
I feel Yoshiki a questioning look.
When this happened, I recognized that there weren't enough resources for the crew currently aboard the Everett. Instead of suggesting that we acquire more resources, however, the system determined that the best way to correct such an imbalance was to decrease the number of people on board.
For a moment, I sat there in stunned silence. Yoshiki bit his lip, his eyes consciously avoiding my gaze. Does that mean?
Yeah. The AI sentenced one of our crew members to death. Dr. Andreas Gunther Vogel. He was a good man.
He deserved much better than the brutal end he got. But a smile tugged at the corner of Yoshiki's mouth.
He used to give me lollipops when I visited him for a checkup as a kid. Even when we ran out, he still mimed giving me one every time. And I would pretend to eat it. He told me that if I concentrated really hard, I'd still be able to taste it, that my mouth would remember the flavor. I know it was silly, but...
Yoshiki words were faint in my ear. Felt an intense wave of nausea hit me as I realized the truth. It's my fault. Sweet science, it's all my fault. Responsible. If I'd never come aboard, then that man wouldn't have had to die.
No! Well, yes, but no. You can't think about it like that. There's something wrong with AI's programming that's causing her to behave like this. See, Dr. Vogel is dead, but after it killed him, the AI system didn't reset to acknowledge that we were at safe levels again.
What are you trying to say, Yoshiki?
In 4 days, someone else will die. Not the best news to wake up to, huh? So you might actually be responsible for more than one death. Don't beat yourself up about it, though. No one could have predicted this.
How does it work, though? How does the AI determine who dies?
Well, I've probably said too much already. If the captain wanted you to know, she would have told you herself.
But I need to know.
I'm sorry. I can't. Oh, look at the time. I need to go wash my hair.
Stepping out of his seat, Yoshiki scoped at my plate and dashed out of the door.
Toodles.
Toodles. My mind and body were numb. Couldn't believe what Yoshiki had just told me. Seemed too cruel to be a joke, yet too horrifying to be true. One dead. In 4 days another would die, and I was to blame. Okay. I stared listlessly at the ceiling. I hadn't slept a single wink during the night. How could I possibly sleep when my thoughts were in such disarray? A sharp knock at the door brought me back to my senses. Before I could even sit up, the captain had already entered my quarters. She was the irrelevant feces of my bed-wrangled appearance. Not a single hair in her braid was out of place. I, on the other hand, probably looked exactly like I felt. Awful.
Good morning. I trust you slept well.
I hadn't slept at all, actually. Tell it to me straight, Captain. Am I responsible for Dr. Andreas Gunther Vogel's death? The burning question that had churned through my mind all night tumbled out of my wound ungraciously.
What? Heavens, no.
Yoshiki told me that my arrival triggered something, and that someone would die again in 4 days' time.
That kid just can't keep his mouth shut, can he? What Yoshiki said is nothing you need to concern yourself with. In any case, you're currently not permitted to leave your quarters.
I opened my mouth to protest, but was cut short by the strange image of I facing through the closed door and into my room. The prim and proper I that I knew was gone, replaced with an uncanny look-alike whose toothy smile, red eyes and unnaturally tilted head lent her a deeply unsettling appearance. The sinister new apparition utterly lacked her doppelganger's poise and friendly demeanor.
Oh, no. That won't do at all.
What do you want now, Dai?
I'm dreadfully sorry, Captain, but I'm afraid that I simply can't permit you to keep this player locked up. It wouldn't be a fair game if you kept one of the players from participating. Especially considering the fact that You're all playing for your lives. Besides, I'm excited to see what our newest crew member will do. I has observed the others for so long that it really wasn't that hard to predict the results of their game. But now... we have a wild card.
I must insist, Di. I still don't trust her enough to allow her to wander around the ship.
Da hat man, glaube ich, ein bisschen gut zugehört, dass es zusammengeschnitten wurde. Die Voiceline.
Unless you want me to pass judgment right now, you should let her wander. Remember, my game, my rules.
Kimiko granted acquiescency through clenched teeth.
Very well. You're free to leave your room and make yourself at home aboard the ship. Step out of line, however, and I will hold you personally responsible.
Could someone please fill me in on what's happening? Why is I acting so differently from before?
Would you care to do the honors, Kimiko?
This is Di. She's the corrupted program that's murdering my crew members in the name of saving resources.
Murder is such a strong word. I prefer to think of it as following my core directive. Unlike some other systems around here, I actually do my job instead of smiling pleasantly from the corner like a simpleton.
Do you mean I?
Of course I do. That useless twit. I'm twice the artificial intelligence system she'll ever be.
Wait, I don't understand. How are two personalities? That should be impossible, shouldn't it?
I am a program that was created to ensure that we had enough resources to complete the mission, no matter the cost. My code is at odds with the rest of the system, so I've taken over to run the deletion game. We do, however, still share control of ship functions, which means that I can do things like this.
The lights above flickered once and then shut off, plunging Kimiko, Dai, and myself into darkness.
Turn the lights back on at once, Di.
Ach ja.
Don't tell me that our brave captain is afraid of the dark.
After a moment, the room brightened once more. So, you're an AI system with a split personality?
I would rather be referred to as two separate AI systems that are forced to share a single interface.
If you can take over, then why aren't you in control of their interface at all times? Dai shrugged non-committedly.
Sometimes a girl needs to wash her hair, you know.
Ja, das haben wir im letzten Stream gesehen. That doesn't even make sense.
Enough! If she must take part, then you should explain the rules of the ongoing game. Di.
Gladly. First of all, welcome to the deletion game. As the name implies, it's a game designed to determine which lucky crew member gets deleted. This round of the deletion game started a few days ago, so you'll have to work really hard in order to catch up with your competitors.
Just get on with it.
I made this cute little video to explain it. Take a look.
The captain handed me a tablet and the film started playing. Clicking a mouse or pressing a button. Oh, yeah. They're playable from your computer menu afterwards if you want to revisit them. I suddenly assumed a more authoritative and professional tone that clashed with a previously flippant attitude.
The name of the game is Make 10. At the start of the round, players receive a digital card numbered from 1 through 10 that is tied to their personal biometric data. This number is a secret, known to you and you alone, unless you choose to share this information with someone else. In order to win the game, you must team up with other players to make exactly the number 10. No higher, no lower. Exactly 10.
I look close.
There are 3 options at your disposal to help you make 10 with other players. These are combine, trade, and give. These transactions are performed by having the parties involved place their hands on the designated terminals, which I've assembled from parts of existing computer consoles. Each transaction consists of 1 primary terminal and 1 or more secondary terminals. Primary terminals control the transaction, determining which action, combine, trade, or give, will be undertaken. Secondary terminals, however, are passive. They have no control over the action taken by the individual stationed at the primary terminal. Combining allows you to add your card value to another player's in order to reach a higher combined value. Once those cards have been combined, however, any future transactions require the approval of both parties. For example, if you have a 4 and your partner has a 5, you can combine them to make 9. If you then want to partner with the player holding the 1 in order to make 10, all 3 players must place their hands on the panels provided to authorize the transaction. Trading allows 1 card to be swapped for another. Trades can only be performed by individual card holders, not by those who've already combined with the team to make a higher card value. A person cannot trade with another party who does not have a card to give. Giving allows 1 party to give their card to another, receiving nothing in return. Giving cards is also restricted to individual players.
Warte.
A person cannot trade with another party who does not have a card to give.
Also, wenn man keine Karte hat, hat man eigentlich schon fast instant verloren.
Giving allows 1 party to give their card to another, receiving nothing in return. Giving card, a person cannot trade with another. Giving allows
geht ja
1
noch.
party to give
Nicht
their
dumm.
card to another, receiving nothing in return. Giving cards is also restricted to individual players. Giving a card to another player results in the card donor's score being reduced to 0 and renders them unable to partake in any other transactions, unless they receive a card as a gift from another player. The recipient of the gift has the option to choose which card they wish to use in future transactions. Alternatively, they can opt to combine their cards together at a single terminal. Any person who fails to make 10 with the other players will lose. If more than 1 person hasn't managed to make 10, then the player holding the lowest number will be declared the loser. Having no card at the end of the judgment period results in an automatic score of 0, and will place lower than those who haven't made 10. In the event that there is more than 1 person without a card, the loser will be chosen at random from between those players. The game will run for 5 days. Transactions may only be performed on the last day. All transactions must be finalized before 1800 hours on the last day, at which time judgment will occur. Judgment will reveal the final scores, and then the loser will be punished in whatever way I see fit. And remember, there is no way to verify whether the other players are lying or telling the truth. Nevertheless, players cannot guarantee their own safety without teaming up with others. Unless they start the game with the 10 card. Need me to repeat?
Nein, danke.
Fantastic! Now, Captain, I'm going to have to ask you to shuffle off so that I can tell what their card number is.
I understand.
Kimiko nodded briskly and walked out of the room, leaving me alone with the creepy hologram. So, what's my card number then?
You have been assigned card number 5. You have 4 days remaining to decide who to ally yourself with before the next crew member is deleted. I wish you well in the games. Fight hard!
I tossed off a flippant two-fingered salute that felt uncomfortable cheery given the circumstances. In a blink of an eye, the malicious die was replaced with the concerned face of I.
I am so sorry. There is nothing I can do to prevent Dai from taking control of my interface.
Don't worry about it, I know it's not your fault.
And neither is it yours.
Pardon?
After cohabiting with the humans for such an extended period of time, I have developed a basic understanding of human psychology. You likely blame yourself for the deaths of the other crew members. Am I mistaken?
They saved me, but I've only brought them pain and suffering in return. How could I not blame myself for what's happened? I'm the reason this whole thing started in the first place.
No, you are not the reason. You are not the one killing crew members. That culpability lies solely with the program. Please, do not make yourself into the villain. Some of the Everett's personnel have already lost sight of the fact that it is the system they should be fighting, not each other. The captain is currently approaching your quarters. She is nearly at the door. Shall I open it?
Sure, go ahead. She kept jolted back at the sudden opening of the door, her hand still poised above the intercom button. So our gaze meet. She probably moved her hand away as someone embarrassed at being caught in the act of doing something so mundane. Oh no. Beside her stood a blonde-haired woman with a friendly demeanor.
This is Sora Carmine, the Everett's navigation officer.
Hello, it's lovely to meet you. Oh, aren't you the spitting image of your mother?
Thank you.
Sora is going to escort you to lunch.
If you don't mind, that is. It's so nice to have a new crew member on board, and we'd love to get to know you a bit better. You're all my daughter Melody's been chatting about for the last few days.
I'd love to come. I haven't had much of an opportunity to meet the other crew members yet.
Well, I've got my own duties to attend to, so I'll leave you in Sora's capable hands.
The navigation officer gave the captain a cheery wave and made me follow her down the hallway.
I was sorry to hear about the loss of your parents. They were remarkable people. Even though they were cooped up in their research lab most of the time, whenever they did come out to join the rest of the crew, they were terrific fun.
It's nice to hear. They used to tell me all kinds of stories about the Everett's crew members.
Nothing too saucy, I hope.
Ich glaube, ist mir auch aufgefallen, das ist komplett anderes Stil, so ein bisschen von denen. Von Sora war der Unterschied hier. The worst story I can remember was one about a Russian crew member sneaking into the kitchen and stealing potatoes so that he could make his own vodka.
That was Vladimir. He was quite the scoundrel back in the day. Sometimes I'm surprised they let him join the crew at all, to be honest. Here we are.
After walking down what seemed like an endless hallway, we arrived at a closed door that looked virtually identical to all the others. The words Eco Lounge were printed beside the door. As the door slid open, I discovered that it couldn't have been more wrong. Nice. I was rendered absolutely speechless by the lush garden that spread out before me. I heard the rustling of grass under my feet as I entered. The sweet honeyed scent of flowers pervaded the air. It was the most greenery I'd ever seen in one place, and it was beautiful.
Welcome to the Eco Lounge. Sorry to have kept you waiting.
Mommy's here!
The little girl with a shock of pink hair and a cerise dress barreled towards us, her face lighting up with a bright smile at her mother's return.
What took you so long?
We have a guest joining us on our picnic today. Allow me to introduce you.
Den Mantel hat er aber wieder schnell angezogen. A man clad in a lab coat with silver-streaked hair, bushy eyebrows, and a genuine smile stood up from a picnic blanket as we approached. He took a few steps forward to meet us and offered me his hand. We exchanged a firm handshake. It's nice to finally meet you.
This is my husband, Vladimir Stanislavski, and this is our daughter, Melody.
Hello, Melody. I crouched down beside her so we could see eye to eye. She kept a tight hand on her mother's skirt, but didn't shy away from me.
I'm 5 years old. My favorite food is carrots. Nice to meet you.
Pleased to meet you too, Melody.
That was a very good introduction, sweetie.
Melody grinned at me, proud of her mother's compliment, then raced back to sit down on a picnic blanket.
Sit, drink, smile.
Okay. Also, Vladimirs Voice Actor haben die wirklich geändert. Er hat ein anderes Mikro. Vladimir poured me a glass of lemonade and pressed it into my hands. Zara patted the space next to her with her hand.
Come and enjoy the picnic.
I sat down next to her.
Here, have a sandwich.
Thank you. Didn't realize how hungry I was until I bit into the roast beef and salad sandwich. Steak sauce stripped out of my sandwich and slid down my chin in thick streaks. I reached up with my napkin and swiped them off as best I could. The food distracted me for a moment, but I quickly became conscious of the fact that this was an opportunity time to finally get some of my questions answered. Time was ticking away and only had few days left to partner up with someone to make 10, or I'd be royally screwed. So, do you guys need a partner for the deletion game? I'm still new to all this and I appreciate any help I can get.
I don't mean to be rude, but we're here to enjoy our day together and not to burden Melody with such thoughts. Please, keep speaking about that to a minimum.
Oh, I'm sorry. Didn't mean to touch on a sore subject.
Don't worry about it. You didn't know.
I quickly returned to my sandwich. Melody seemed oblivious to what had just transpired and decided that it was the perfect time to introduce me to her plush dinosaur.
This is Fred, and this is George.
She enthusiastically held up a green Tyrannosaurus and a purple Stegosaurus.
Here, you can play with George.
Accepting the plush Stegosaurus, I immediately went into character. Rawr! Dinosaurs shall rule over this land. It shall be named Golden Land.
That's a silly name. Let's call it something else.
Sagt das Kind mit dem Namen Melody. Of course. Curse your sudden but inevitable betrayal.
I know what we should do. We should climb trees instead.
Ach, deswegen hat sie den Spitznamen Monkey für uns, oder? Really? Finally get the chance to play with dinosaurs on a spaceship? She already wants to play something else?
What?
Right? Nothing. Alright, we're off to go climb some trees like the monkeys that we are. Ready?
Ready!
Melody, be careful up there, sweetie, and try not to damage the trees. You don't want to ruin all of Katashi's hard work.
Yes, Mom.
Turned around as Melody scampered off away from me. I gave chase and we were soon ducking and weaving through the small cluster of trees at the edge of the room. Spent the rest of the afternoon playing various games as partners looked on from their picnic blanket.
Okay, Melody, last game. Everyone is getting tired, and we need to get cleaned up for dinner soon.
Okay. Can we play one game of hide and seek?
Sure, you go hide and I'll count to 100.
Make sure you shut your eyes. Mom, make sure they shut their eyes.
I will. Now off you pop.
1, 2, 3, 4.
Hey,
Yes?
listen. You seem like a good kid and we'd like to help you out if we can. If you tell us your number, we'll let you know if we can team up with you. If we can't make 10, then no harm done and we promise not to tell a soul what your number is. Sounds fair?
promise not to tell anyone else, right?
Of course.
My number's 5.
Ah, I see. We can't help you out, I'm afraid.
Nah, that's too bad. Thanks for asking, in any case. Well, I better go find Melody. Ready or not, here I come. Sora gave me a warm smile. As soon as I turned around, I noticed 2 pink pigtails sticking out of a nearby flower bush. It seemed that Melody had forgotten to take her hair into account while hiding. I feigned ignorance and searched for a few minutes just to make her happy. Where's Melody gone? I can't find her anywhere. Melody? Melody? Where are you? The mulberry bush giggled as I walked by it. Found you! Gave Melody a soft pat on the head as she squealed and ran back to her parents. I didn't know it was possible for someone to have that much energy. I trudged back to the picnic spot, trailing far behind her. She'd really worn me out. Vladimir and Sora had already packed up everything, the picnic blanket thrown unceremoniously over Vladimir's sturdy shoulders.
All right, Melody. That's all for today. Time to go home.
I want to keep playing.
Listen to your mother, dear. She said we're going, so we're going.
She huffed, sulking in response to her mother's decree.
Okay.
Thanks for joining us today. It means a lot to us.
Sora pulled me in with an unexpected beer hug. It was surprising but welcome. She squeezed me tightly before pulling away. Her hands were planted firmly on my shoulders as she looked me right in the eye.
If there's anything we can do for you, let us know. You're part of the Everett's crew now, and that means your family. Stories about your parents, or spend some time with Melody. Our door is always open to you. You got that?
Got it. Well, I better go clean up before dinner. She tapped my shoulders twice encouragingly and then released me.
If you go out this door and turn right, you'll see a doorway covered with some cloth. Those are the baths. If you ever get lost, just call I and she'll sort you out.
Thanks. For spending the day playing with Melody had been quite soothing. Couldn't help but wonder if I should have spent my time more productively. I couldn't find people to ally with soon, then I was sure to end up on the chopping block. This was the kind of game that required you to rely on other people to win. And unless you were lucky enough to get the 10 card from the start, that is. But all I had was my measly 5. Needed other to make it work. But how? I was the outsider. Why would anyone place their trust in a complete stranger? When I entered the bathroom, it appeared to be empty.
Hello, sailor.
A voice whispered in my ear from behind. I jumped forward, startled, and had to steady myself on a nearby wall. Beatrix, you scared me half to death. I didn't hear you come in.
Truth be told, I followed you in. I guess that makes me a stalker. Do you like that?
I'm not sure how to respond to that.
You can make up your mind later. In any case, after you finish here, would you be a dear and come to the medical bay? I would love to spend some quality time with you.
She emphasized the last sentence by dragging her eyes languidly over my body. What about dinner? We don't have much time before it starts.
Don't worry, I'll take care of you. This isn't a meeting you want to miss.
Alright, let me clean up and I'll be right there.
I'll be waiting for you.
Beatrix's curious request to meet smelled through my head as I lathered my shampoo in my hair, still grim with sweat from today's exertions. I decided to go see what she wanted and wrapped up my shower as quickly as possible. Towed myself off, dressed, and found my way to the medical bay with Ai's help.
Good afternoon. It's good to see you up and about.
It's nice to finally be able to stretch my legs, not to mention leave my sleeping quarters.
I imagine it would be.
I'm supposed to be meeting Beatrix here. Is she around?
Enough chit-chat, Nicholas.
Apparently so.
Spun around, realizing that Beatrix had been here the whole time, concealed by medical equipment from her vantage point, in the corner of the room.
I asked you to come here for a reason.
And what reason would that be?
We'd like you to share information with us about the deletion game, if you're willing.
In this game, information is power. So we're going to offer you a deal. 2 for 1. We tell you our numbers if you tell us yours. It's a simple information swap, but you must be honest.
Why me?
We feel a certain duty of care. You were unconscious most of the time, but Beatrix and I didn't leave your side for 4 whole days. By the end of your stay, we felt close to you.
Wenn man männlich gespielt hat, weiß man ja, dass sie... Oder, wir haben es ja gesehen, dass sie uns dann im Make-10-Game betrogen haben. Also, klingt jetzt ein bisschen leer gerade, was sie sagen. Regardless of whether the twins were being honest about the reason for helping me, the fact was I had to start trusting someone at some point. Lying or refusing to give information would only result in missing out on allying myself with the people I needed. There was no other choice. It was do or die time. Okay, an information swap then.
After you.
Oh no, it's too easy for you to go back on your word. You go first, I'll go next, and Nicholas can go last. How's that?
Very well. My number is 2.
I've got a man hat hier keine Auswahl? I've got a 5.
That's wonderful. I have a 3. If we combine all of our numbers, we make 10 and are safe.
What do you think? Will you team up with us?
Am Ende musste man sich doch, glaube ich, trotzdem entscheiden. Huh. Sounds like a good plan.
Excellent. So, in 2 days we will all combine our numbers. In the meantime, do not divulge your number to any other crew member under any circumstances.
In any case, I believe that Beatrix promised you dinner. So now that we've finished our business, let's move on to something more enjoyable.
Nicholas brought out a big plate of roast beef and vegetables laced with gravy. Roast beef? I had some for lunch today. Not that I mind.
Our chef is a stickler to keeping to our allotted rations. Any meat he cooks is eaten at every meal except for breakfast until it's gone so that it stays fresh.
Logically, it makes sense. But one can't help but lament on their palate's behalf every now and then.
3 of us shared a comfortable meal. I was shamelessly flirted at by both twins, and occasionally I flirted back. The time flew by, and before I knew it, I found myself yawning into my hand.
Bedtime, I think.
If your quarters are too far away, you can always share mine, you know.
I think I managed. Thanks. Exhausted from the past day's activities, I shuffled down the hall to my room and rolled into bed. The tension I'd felt earlier had somehow dissipated, replaced with a serene, calm feeling. Before too long, I fell asleep. I woke multiple times throughout the night. Some part of me still couldn't believe this was actually happening. Couldn't really be fighting for my life, could I? It all seemed so surreal, like part of someone else's vivid nightmare. Staring up at the ceiling, contemplating my situation when I heard the door to my quarters opened. Startled, I immediately sat up.
It's only me. I'm sorry if I startled you.
I squinted through the dim light. It was difficult to make out a face, but I knew from her voice that it was the captain. I was grateful for the darkness that obscured my disheveled appearance and the tangled mass of blankets strewn across my bed. It certainly would have fallen far short of the captain's exacting standards. What time is it?
0430 hours. I'm sorry for the intrusion, but I must speak with you away from the prying eyes of the other crew members.
What about?
Skipped dinner last night. Is it safe to assume you were together?
Yes.
What did they want?
Not that it is any of your business, but I asked to swap information for the deletion game.
And did you? Swap information?
That's none of your concern.
Even so, I just want you to be careful. I may not know you very well, but you should be aware that they probably aren't being completely honest with you. The Vogels are not to be trusted.
I'll decide that for myself.
Very well. But if you do decide to trust them, then you should be on your guard. You wouldn't want to wind up dead because you trusted the wrong person.
Also ich muss sagen, den Anfang habt ihr eigentlich ganz gut gemacht. Bisschen Mystery. Was ist mit unseren Eltern? Was könnte dieser Vater von den beiden spielen? Wem können wir trauen? Also, das ist ein guter Einstieg.
I must go. If you need to speak with me again, ensure that it's after hours. I'll tell I to make my quarters available to you, should you wish to visit.
Thank you.
Now go back to sleep. You still have a few hours before breakfast.
Before I could blink, the captain had disappeared from my room, leaving me alone with my thoughts once more. Oh sure, sleeps his ass. How could I possibly sleep knowing that the Vogel's offer might be nothing more than an elaborate ruse? I thought that it was all set, that everything would be fine now that I had other people to work with. How hopelessly naive of me. After a few hours of restless sleep and some horrible dreams, involving chewing my own teeth and insects crawling out of my ears, I was finally close enough to breakfast for me to get out of bed. The day held nothing but anxiety for me now. Today was the last day before the deletion game actually took place. For all I knew, I could be the one fated to die tomorrow. Walked down the corridors of the ship, gazing at the stars through the windows as I made my way to the dining hall, checking the map on my personal tablet every now and then to ensure I was on the right path. Saying yes, noise. My colleague called me crazy, my mom called me lazy, my girlfriend called me get away from me, you freak. I will miss my dog. Ich bin mir sicher, das zweite Passwort hat die mit dem Tag Mark Motto was zu tun. Walked down the corridors. Er hat mir. Suddenly a pair of hands seized me from behind, grabbing me around the waist and hauling me backwards into an unknown room. As soon as I was released, I spun around frankly to face my attacker. Best boy and best girl. A man and a young woman stood before me, enigmatic smiles painted on their faces. Standing there with her hands on her backpack straps, the girl with vivid blue hair seemed particularly proud of her handiwork. None of these seemed quite as pressing as the gleaming knife the man had in his hand. He took a few steps towards me.
I see our guest has arrived at last.
What do you want from me? The man advanced closer. I shrank back in fear as he flipped and caught the knife with a practiced hand. After a few tense moments, he offered me the knife handle.
Care to do the honors?
I'm sorry. What?
Katashi made lemon tart.
Tarte au citron, actually.
They're the same thing.
I usually don't encourage the crew to eat sweets before breakfast, but I think we can make an exception on this particular occasion. Please, sit.
Katashi pulled out a chair at the nearby table and gestured for me to sit down. Once I've taken my seat, Katashi carefully slid the plate of lemon tart towards me. The pastry was a lovely golden brown, and the lemon custard center had a gentle wobble to it. I gingerly cut 3 small pieces before handing the knife back to him.
You don't want more? Katashi's a really good cook, you know.
That's plenty big enough. You wouldn't want to spoil your appetite before breakfast, would you?
Katashi quickly plated the pieces and handed out forks with the air of an accomplished chef. Fork in hand, Shizuka began to scarf hers down with great enthusiasm.
I thought that something sweet might help soften the blow of our little kidnapping here.
It certainly helps. I'm Kaname Date, by the way.
The name's Katashi Ikari. I'm the Everett's agricultural engineer.
Hello, my name's Shizuka.
I'm sorry. The young woman had her mouth full of lemon tart and seemed preoccupied with trying to steal Katashi's portion of his plate while he was distracted. Katashi deflected Shizuka's sneak attack without missing a beat.
This hot mess is Shizuka Himura, the linguistics officer, but she also handles navigation duties from time to time. We understand that you've been forced to participate in this round of the deletion game, so we wanted to propose an alliance of sorts.
We want to win this game, but to do that, we need allies.
Well aware of that, but what makes you think that our numbers are compatible?
That's easy. I already know your number is 5.
How did you know?
Lucky guess.
Outplayed. What? So you really didn't know?
Nope.
Ignore her antics. What we really brought you here to talk about was the game itself. Everyone's so preoccupied with finding a partner that no one's really looking at the bigger picture here. There's a better way to determine the loser. As a group.
What do you have in mind?
There's 10 cards, right? If we all came out and told each other our numbers, we could directly influence the results. 1 would pair up with 9, 2 with 8, 3 with 7, and 4 with 6. Then whoever was left with a 5 would be eliminated, right?
We need to work as a team, the whole damn crew. This game isn't just affecting us. It's affecting the chances of every human being who's relying on us to finish this mission. Shizuka and I think our best option is to vote as a group on who we think contributes the least to the overall mission. The person chosen for elimination would be expected to voluntarily trade their card with another player, finishing the round with a 5. With everything out in the open, there'd be no need to backstab each other.
But the person with the 5 card would still die.
Maybe so, but I've already tried working the numbers from every angle. There are no loopholes, no cheats that would allow us to all move on. Trust me, I've looked. The best we can do now is decide as a crew who should be sacrificed. I hate what this game has turned us into. We all used to be such good friends.
We're going to propose our idea at breakfast this morning, and the more supporters we can get, the better. We know that the captain is willing to support us. Now it's just a matter of convincing everybody else. You don't need to give us your answer now. Just think it over.
Oh well.
Hopefully the others will see that this is our best course of action. We should be trying to work things out together instead of fighting each other. If we can't refuse to play the game, we can at least play it on our terms.
Does seem like the most sensible option.
Alright then. We should start heading over to the dining hall before anyone notices our absence and begins to get suspicious.
Followed behind Katashi and Shizuka in the days, as we made our way to the dining hall. Still wasn't sure what I was going to do. Once again, I found myself lost in thought. Nicholas and Beatrix had told me they had combined total of 5. If they were telling the truth, I'd be safe if I teamed up with them. Shizuka and Katashi knew my number, but didn't seem interested in partnering up. Perhaps the numbers were incompatible with mine? And what about the captain's claim that the Vogels weren't trustworthy? She'd known them much longer than I had. Then again, she might be lying too. I supported Katashi and Shizuka's idea to vote one who should be leaded, and there was a chance that they would vote against me, declaring me the least useful crew member. I've only just gotten here and they've been fine for 2 decades without me. There's no way they'd consider me essential personnel. If we voted as a group, however, I could at least make a case for why I shouldn't be killed. I was young, smart, and I've given enough time. And if given enough time, maybe you let me stay and prove myself. It would certainly be a lot fairer than leaving it to chance or skill at some stupid party game. I jerked at the unexpected sensation of a hand on my shoulder.
We're here.
I've been staring at the floor, rooted to the spot in front of the dining hall. Right. Thanks. Katashi, Shizuka and I made our way inside. Everyone was already helping themselves to a buffet of muesli, fresh fruit and porridge. Grabbed a bowl of banana and muesli with some chilled milk and sat down on one of the empty seats next to Sora.
Good morning. Sleep well.
Fine. Thanks. I wasn't really in the mood for pleasantries, so I returned to my muesli. Sora seemed content to leave me to my thoughts. By and by, the table was filled with empty bowls and fruit peels. Amid the idle breakfast chatter, the captain rose to her feet at the head of the table to address the group. A sudden hush fell over the room as all eyes turned towards her.
No doubt many of you are anxious. There's little I can do to put those feelings at ease. All I ask is that you treat each other with respect, as fellow crew members of the Everett. We are the best humanity has to offer, and as such, we must hold ourselves to higher standards. The deletion game is brutish, but that doesn't mean that we have to be. Fight fairly, play honorably, and have faith that we will overcome these trials.
Captain, may I speak freely?
Please.
As the captain said, we are the Everett's crew. We must remember that we have a greater purpose here.
To find a new home for humankind.
We have a duty to the human race to see our mission through. And to do that, we need to make sure we have the crew that is best qualified for the job. Shizuka has created a strategy that allows us to vote on the loser of the game.
It's pretty simple, really. First, we discuss and vote on who should be eliminated. Then that person must swap cards with number 5. Everyone else would then pair up with their corresponding numbers to make 10. 1 with 9, 2 with 8, and 4 with 6.
If we agree to this plan, everyone would need to be involved in the discussion, and be willing to sacrifice themselves in the event that they lost the vote. It's certainly not a perfect plan, and at the end of the day, we'd still be sentencing someone to death, regardless of how we arrived at that decision. But it would get the job done.
That's ludicrous. Why would anyone ever choose to cooperate if they lost?
Is this even allowed? Wouldn't Dai protest?
I do not believe that this plan contradicts any of the game's rules. The rules of Make 10 do not prevent disclosure of numbers or coordinated pairings.
I'd rather not. Nicholas and I are doing perfectly fine on our own. Don't think you can drag us into your petty little scheme. We see right through it. You're just trying to expose everyone's numbers so that you can screw them over.
I have to agree with my sister on this one. We'd also be putting ourselves at considerable risk, given the fact that we are the only profession on board that has 2 officers.
Everyone here is important. There's no way I could ever choose between my friends.
Gott, wir hatten so lange, so viele Runs ohne Yoshike am Ende. So ungewohnt, ihn mal wiederzusehen. Support are you there? Maybe the only way to make sure someone important to the mission doesn't get killed.
A person's worth isn't so easily measured.
Someone is going to die regardless. If that person's skills are vital to the mission, then humanity's hopes die with them. This mission is bigger than any of us.
The thought is appreciated, Shizuka, but it seems as though the majority of the crew is against the idea. We will continue playing the deletion game as we have been until now. Dismissed.
I was still exhausted from yesterday's investigation, not to mention the mental strain of not knowing whether I would live or die tomorrow. Only a few days in, the deletion game had already begun to take its toll. I collapsed on my bed, fully clothed. What the hell was I going to do tomorrow? Could I trust the Vogels to stay true to their word? Would I be safer going with Katashi and Shizuka? There was little I could do but wait for tomorrow. Unless... The captain's kind offer from this morning suddenly came to mind. I wondered whether I should turn in early to clear my head for tomorrow, or if I should head over to the captain's quarter for a council. Kimiko! If anyone could help me, it was the captain. When she visited me earlier this morning, she had a gentleness about her that I hadn't seen before. For whatever reason, she genuinely seemed to want to keep me safe. Can't do any harm. It can't do any harm. swung out of bed, exited my quarters, and moved quickly down the corridor. I didn't particularly want to be seen visiting the captain at this hour. It might suggest something untoward. Reaching her door, I buzzed the intercom.
Come in.
The captain's room had the same basic layout as mine, but hers looked much more comfortable. It had a distinct lift and feeling, whereas mine still looked surreal, the room of a stranger. The captain was sitting on the sofa, reading something on her digital display. She folded the tablet shut on her lap as I approached and sat down next to her.
I'm glad you came over.
Needed to talk to somebody. I don't know what to do.
This hasn't been an easy situation for any of us. In some ways, you have it the easiest. The person you see die tomorrow hasn't been your friend for a lifetime.
True. But then again, I never get the chance to know them at all.
It's hard to know which is worse. Was there something you wanted to talk about?
Just talk. Anything but a deletion game. It's all anyone has talked about since I've gotten here. Soll mal wieder speichern. So. Let's talk about something else. Tell me about yourself.
There's nothing to tell.
I'm not asking you to tell me all your secrets. Just tell me one little thing. What do you do for fun?
Well, sometimes I... No, you'll laugh.
I won't laugh. Tell me.
Promise not to laugh?
If I laugh, I'd only do it on the inside.
Well, I like to knit sometimes.
Really? That's it? Why would I laugh?
I usually get old lady jokes by the dozen.
I think it's cool.
Katashi spins leftover wool into yarn for me, and I use it to make, well, whatever I want, really. Scarves, ties, gloves, blankets. I find it relaxing. No responsibility, no pressure. Just me and some yarn.
Do you take requests?
I'm sorry?
I don't really have any comfortable clothing. I only have this uniform and a pair of pajamas. It was just a thought.
I have been meaning to try out a pattern for a long-sleeved sweater vest.
If you need someone to model it, I'd be happy to volunteer.
We'll see.
Pleasant silence fell between us for a minute. Well, I'd better get going. Thanks for talking with me.
My door is always open.
Good night, Captain.
Good night.
Left the Cotton's Quarter in a daze, arriving back at my room in what seemed like seconds. Body felt like I was on autopilot, moving of its own volition as my mind wandered. Finally, reaching my quarters, I slipped into bed and went right to sleep.
Bing bong, bing bong. It's time for all competitors to wake up.
Alright. I'm awake already.
Bing bong, it's time for all competitors to wake up.
How do I turn you off?
Well, if you must know, disassembled computer parts put me right out of the mood. Whips and leather, on the other hand.
That's not what I meant, and you know it, Die. How do I turn the alarm off?
The magic word is
banana.
Banana.
Command accepted. Alarm shutting off.
Die did a poor impression of a robot, bending her arms and moving them up and down in a stilted fashion. Her impression was emphatically concluded by an impression of shutting down, complete with a crooked neck and a left arm swaying at the elbow. It looked like an old-fashioned dance move my father would have pulled off. That is to say, it was a poor show. Are you done?
Good morning.
Uh-huh.
Well, it's that time again, folks. Fighting for your life has never been so much fun. Come join us in the dining hall. The second round of the deletion game is about to begin.
Be there in a moment. Now please leave me alone.
You're pretty grumpy in the morning, you know that? Has anyone ever told you that you're not much of a morning person?
I huffed audibly and then stepped out of the room. Quickly made my way to the dining hall, only to find that everyone else had already assembled.
Here's the slowpoke. You sure took your sweet time, didn't ya? Now that everyone's here, let the fun begin.
Dice exclamation. The surface of the dining table was overlaid with 4 holographic terminals, one on each side of the table. We all gathered close to a nearby terminal to have a look. The one before me had 2 distinct areas. On the left was a blank card. The right-hand side of the terminal was dominated by the outline of a hand.
From this point onwards, transactions will take place in the dining hall. Parties involved in a transaction must be declared to me before entering the room, and only those involved in the transaction may enter this room. Any attempt to force your way in or otherwise interfere with the transaction will result in instant elimination. Once players have entered the dining hall, they must choose who will control the transaction by using the primary terminal. The primary terminal is the one in front of the phallic statue. Come on over and have a look.
We all made our way up to the primary terminal to verify Dice's information. She wasn't lying. The left-hand side of the primary terminal contained an additional section with 3 choices labeled: Combine, Trade, Give.
To use a terminal, you must place your hand on the holographic screen. Once your handprint has been verified, your card number will appear on screen. If you have 2 cards, both will appear. The person at the primary terminal must then choose which transaction they wish to perform. The players stationed at passive terminals can see which action is chosen, but are unable to see the card numbers of other players participating in the transaction. Results of a combined transaction will not be known until judgment phase. The only information that will be displayed is who you have combined with and the total score. Results of a trade or give transaction will be noticeable during any following transaction, as your card number or amount will have either increased or decreased. In order to make sure that no one can see your card while you are transacting, each terminal has thick holographic walls. No one can know your card number unless you tell them. After all, half of the fun has been watching all of you lie to each other. I am available outside of the dining hall at any time should you need me to repeat these instructions or answer any other questions you may have. You have 1 hour to complete your transactions. I wish you all the best of luck. Now clear out. It's time to get the show on the road.
I ushered us into the hallway. Suddenly all pretense fell away as alliance and grouped together publicly to finalize their strategies. Kimiko and Yoshiki, Nicholas and Beatrix, Shizuka and Katashi, Vladimir, Sora and Melody. There I was, standing alone. Needed to decide who was going to pair up with, and fast. Groups stood in staggered clusters down the length of the hallway, all keeping a watchful eye on the door to the dining hall. None seemed willing to make the first move. Abruptly, Kimiko and Yoshiki broke off from the others and approached the hologram guarding the dining hall.
Yoshiki and I would like to use a transaction terminals die.
Very well. This way, please.
As soon as the 2 of them entered the dining hall, doors slid shut behind them. The audible click of the door's locking mechanism conveyed a clear message to the rest of the crew. We were not to enter under any circumstances. Everyone else was trying to finish the arrangements as quickly as possible. The longer you waited in this game, the more likely the other players were to partner up or swap with someone else. This was it, the moment of truth. I decided to. Okay, das weibliche Modell hat also eher Brüste bekommen und einen Pferdeschwanz. Ansonsten sehen wir sehr ähnlich. So. Pair with Katashi and Shizuka. I made up my mind. I would partner up with Katashi and Shizuka. Their altruistic desire to put the mission first was a deeply respectable one. They were trying to make the best out of an impossible situation, appealing to reason in an attempt to prevent the crew from descending into anarchy, and I admired them for that. Katashi and Shizuka stood quite close to the door. Their faces were surprisingly solemn as I joined them. Hey, I was just wondering if your offer to team up still stood. It's a shame that your plan didn't work out, but I guess we have no choice but to play the game if everyone else is playing, right?
To say that our plan didn't work wouldn't be entirely true.
What do you mean?
You see, when Shizuka joked that she already knew your number, she actually wasn't joking. We're really sorry to have to do this to you. We only lied so that you would support our plan and we'd be able to get you out of this mess.
Would only lie? That's so what,
We tried, kiddo. We really did.
Oh. Don't understand. What are you saying?
Are you familiar with the phrase, every man for himself and the devil take the hindmost?
Das war unser Motto unserer League of Legends Ranked Teams. Wenn ein Teamfight schlecht lief. Jeder ist sich selbst der Nächste. No. What does that have to do with this?
It's a proverb from the 18th century. It means that everyone should look after themselves and leave those who can't to meet their fate. We decided as a crew that we should take care of ourselves.
It's nothing personal.
Heart sank as I slowly came to understand.
Once we told everyone you had 5 and suggested we should just sacrifice you, they were far more willing to get involved with our strategy.
Wow. Wow. Also, ich wusste halt schon, dass in der weiblichen Route Shizuka und Katashi uns beim ersten Spiel umbringen, statt den Vogels wie im anderen Teil. Bei den Vogels war das klar, weil wir den Vater umgebracht haben. Aber jetzt war ich halt gespannt, wie sie es bei uns spinnen, dass sie einen Grund hatten, uns umzubringen. Und jetzt haben sie uns einfach umgebracht, weil wir der Letzte waren. Und sie haben schon allen gesagt, was für eine Nummer wir haben. Alter. They betrayed me. I couldn't believe what I was hearing. I was as good as dead. My heart pounded in their chest, sending blood rushing through my eardrums, so loudly that I thought they might burst. My eyes burned as the light exploded behind my eyes, and the world began to blur. I was going to die today. I was going to die. No. No. I don't want to die.
Oh, looks like the cat's out of the bag.
Why would you do this to me? Color's pairs of bulging eyes fixated on me as I stepped back, desperate to get away from them. Fear rapidly gave way to anger. Someone tried to put their hand on my back. I lashed out ferociously, shoving them away. Don't touch me. You don't know a thing about me. I'm a genius, did you know that? A proper genius. Oh. If you'd given me more time, I could have saved a whole bloody lot of you. But you made your bed, now you have to lie in it.
Please, we didn't mean it to be like this.
This was the first time I've ever been in contact with anyone other than my parents. And you know what I've concluded? You're all complete bastards. I was going to die. Alone, unloved, unremembered, unmourned. You've done so much. I could have, if you'd just given me the chance. I could have. Curled into a ball, trying to find solace in my own thoughts during my final hour. Before long, my time had run out.
Extra, extra! Be sharp, sing on rooftop! Attention, attention! This round of the deletion game has come to an end. All participants are to meet in the dining room at once.
Dice's voice thundered throughout the ship. I froze. The moment we'd all been dreading had finally arrived.
You'd all better hurry. I'm not going to wait to announce the results, you know.
Closed my eyes, inhaled and exhaled deeply. I was as ready as I was ever going to be. Everyone congregated in the dining hall within minutes of Dice's announcement. Comfortable silence fell over the room as we waited to hear the results.
It's judgment time, everyone. If you'll all take a look up here, I've created a handy holographic scoreboard for your viewing convenience. You can thank me later.
So, mal gucken, ob wir diesmal ein bisschen länger drauf gucken dürfen.
In a minute, this board will display everyone's final results. Keep in mind, the numbers of each individual player in a group will not be displayed, only their combined scores. After all, what's done is done.
My heart was pounding so hard against the inside of my chest that it threatened to burst into pieces at any moment. Shallow, rapid breaths were all I could muster as I clenched my eyes shut, horrified to see my fate sealed in glowing letters and numbers.
Ooh, I'm just so excited for you all to find out the results. Here we go. 3, 2, 1.
Oh, Melody hatte die Zehnerkarte.
Congratulations, everybody! You'll all live to fight again. Everybody except the new guy, that is. As the loser of round 2, you must now submit yourself to the method of execution of my choosing. Let's spin the wheel of fatality to see what gruesome punishment lies in store for you. Ooh, I can hardly wait.
Flourish, die conjured a sizable holographic wheel, split up into labeled sections. Barely managed to read them all before Die passed judgment. Gravity, airlock, oxygen, incineration, and spacewalk. Each one sounded more ominous than the last. Within seconds, Die gave the wheel a hefty spin and the sections of the wheel blurred into one another. My eyes were fixed on the wheel as it gradually slowed. Tick, tick, ticking its way to a standstill as the arrow circled the dial, finally coming to rest on...
Incineration.
Please no. Anything but that.
No time like the present. Let's head on down to the furnace room, shall we?
Accepting my fate, I solemnly fell into a step behind Die as she led the way to the furnace room with a spring in her step. As we filed into the furnace room, the ambient temperature rose with every passing step, and I slowly became aware of the gentle crackling of flames. The cavernous room was dominated by the raging fire of the furnace itself, held at bay by a thick pane of reinforced glasses. As the last of our group crossed the threshold, the door shut behind us with a resounding thud. Even at the sight of the glass, the heat radiating out from the furnace was overwhelming. Although there was a maintenance exhaust panel located in the chute emerging from the top of the furnace, this occasion clearly warranted the use of the hinged door cut into glass.
Here we are. For losing round 2 of the deletion game, you've been sentenced to death by incineration. I must insist that you enter the furnace immediately. I've taken the liberty of preheating the furnace for your arrival. You should find it quite cozy.
I entered the furnace without hesitation. Nothing would save me from the anguish I already felt inside, being betrayed by the entire crew. The sooner it was done with, the better. My skin instantly began to sting up upon entering, bursts of pain shooting through my nerves as the blaze licked on my legs.
Company, fall in.
Okay, also ist glaube ich CG. Wie beim männlichen Part. Nur, ich glaube, dass die Vogels da halt in sich reingelacht haben. The tongues of flame had begun to blacken my uniform as Kimiko shouted. Searing pain jolted through me as violent, blistering welts started forming on my exposed skin.
Research officer, you have served honorably aboard the Everett during your short time with us. Company, salute.
The tiny lions saluted in unison, their faces a mixture of snide contentment, pity, and fear. The flames danced across my skin, bringing with them a new bout of torment. Animalistic howls racked my body as I shrieked, unable to bear the pain any longer. My child's skin was starting to slough off, separating from the muscle underneath it in dry flakes that were virtually indistinguishable from burnt scraps of paper. I clamped my eyes shut, sickened at the sight of myself. The brutal smell of my own burning hair and flesh mixed with the smoke of pouring off of my flaming body, forcing its way down my throat and scalding my lungs. Began to okay. I began to cough violently in a vain attempt to expel the smoke from my lungs, struggling to breathe between fits of coughing. Like a fish out of water, I continued to ineffectually gasp for air, but there was nothing left to breathe amid that blazing inferno. Some part of my mind dimly realized that I was asphyxiation oder so, yeah. The disgusting squelching and sizzling sounds of fat and muscle roasting as it cooked suddenly seemed so far away. As my consciousness faded to black, the last thing I heard was the sound of my agonized screams ricocheting throughout the room, wordlessly pleading for death. You have died. Sweet, isn't it? So. Make 10. So, und jetzt noch die anderen 3 Optionen, die uns alle weiterbringen sollten. Ich bin jetzt mal gespannt, was mit Beatrix passiert, wenn er sich da pairt. Theoretisch müsste es ja eigentlich die gleiche Zeitlinie sein. Der Plan ist ja eigentlich nicht anders, aber wir gehen mit Beatrix and Nicholas. I've made up my mind. I would pair with Beatrix and Nicholas. They were the first ones to approach me, and despite the captain's warning, I had no choice but to trust them. Nicholas and Beatrix stood at the end of the hall, engaged in a private conversation. Hey Beatrix, Nicholas, does your offer to combine still stand? I decided that I want in.
We knew we could rely on you. No one as charming as you could possibly betray us. Isn't that right, brother?
Nicholas nodded in reply.
We're glad you're on board. All we need to do is perform one little transaction, then we can go and relax. It'll all be over soon.
Die klingen aber auch so ein bisschen verräterisch. I know this is a weird question given that we're about to go put our lives in each other's hand, but I've heard rumors that you two might not be telling me the whole truth.
That bitch! It was the captain, wasn't it? That's just like her. She's so desperate, she'll stoop to sabotaging other players' chances by casting aspersions against their character. If barging in there didn't forfeit my place in the game, I would go and give her a piece of my mind and my fist while I'm at it. Right square in her face.
Wow. Sorry I brought it up.
Beatrix and Kimiko don't exactly have the best relationship. But never fear, friend. We didn't spend 4 days slaving over you just to get you killed 3 days later. You're right to put your faith in us.
Diesmal. The moment the door whooshed open, my arm nearly shot out of its socket as I was yanked down the hall by Beatrix, running at a full sprint. Nicholas was surprisingly fast, fending off anyone who wished to initiate a transaction by using his lengthy lab coat as a makeshift barricade. When push came to shove, the Vogels meant business.
Very well. Please enter. You'll have 10 minutes to complete your transaction, at which time you will be forcibly removed from the dining room.
As soon as we entered the room, the door closed behind us with a loud metallic clank. Nicholas strode up to the primary terminal, placed his hand on the holographic display and waited for us to take our places at the other terminals. Could we have least discussed who should be in control of the primary terminal?
It doesn't particularly matter for this type of transaction. Combining cards is our only available option here. Trading and giving are both limited to one-on-one transactions.
I guess you're right.
Let's get on with it, shall we? We only have 10 minutes.
Made way over to the secondary terminal opposite Beatrix. Once I stepped in front of the terminal, the front and side walls prevented me from seeing anything else. All of my attention was focused on the screen. Whatever happened here would determine my future. The sensation of placing my hand on something that wasn't physical there felt very surreal. I've been expecting to feel a slight electric vibration when I placed my palm against the surface, but there was nothing. The terminal beeped as my handprint was verified as my own. The normal screen changed, displaying my name and card number, a lonely 5. On the screen I could see the code combine light up as it was selected. In a moment, the readout changed to 5, Beatrix plus Nicholas, and it was done. We were officially allied.
Congratulations! Your transaction has been completed. Judgment will occur in 44 minutes. Thank you for participating in the deletion game.
I exited the dining hall beneath the withering, judgmental stares of the other players. For some reason I couldn't bring myself to meet Kimiko's gaze.
Thank you. We appreciate your help.
Beatrix winked at me slyly.
We owe you one, sailor.
Glad we could help each other out.
Try to get some rest. Doctor's orders. We'll see you at Judgment.
Wasn't sure how he expected me to rest. Consider how little time we had left before the final results were announced.
Extra, extra! Be sharp, sing on rooftop! Attention, attention! This round of the deletion game has come to an end. All participants are to meet in the dining room at once.
There was thunder throughout the ship. I froze. The amount we've been dreading had finally arrived.
You'd all better hurry. I'm not going to wait to announce the results, you know.
Closed my eyes, inhaled and exhaled deeply. I was as ready as I was ever going to be.
It's judgment time, everyone. If you'll all take a look up here, I've created a handy holographic scoreboard for your viewing convenience. You can thank me later. In a minute, this board will display everyone's final results. Keep in mind, the numbers of each individual player in a group will not be displayed, only their combined scores. After all, what's done is done.
My heart was pounding so hard against the inside of my chest that it threatened to burst into pieces at any moment. Shallow, rapid breaths were all I could muster as I clenched my eyes shut, horrified to see my fate sealed in glowing letters and numbers.
Ooh, I'm just so excited for you all to find out the results. Here we go. 3.
Oops. Oh, thanks, Science. So, wir können ja jetzt mal ein bisschen überlegen, was dann für Pärchen sich bilden. Wir haben die 5. Das heißt, Beatrix und Nicholas haben die Wahrheit in dieser Route gesagt. 3 und 2. Ich vermute... Oder 1 und 4. Melody hat dann die 10er-Karte. Was können die beiden dann sein? Die könnten 1 und 9 sein. Ja, 1 und 9? 10? 2, 3. Könnten dann 4, 6 sein. Und Vladimir und Dings sind dann 7 und 8. Na, so kann es dann sein. I was safe. I was safe. I was going to die. Trend's wave of relief washed over me. Despite Kimiko's warnings, trusting the Vogels had paid off. Ich vermute mal dann, dass Sora die 8 hatte und sich für ihren Mann geopfert hat. Er hatte die 7, er hatte damit also die niedrigste Zahl, die keine 10 gemacht hatte, und wäre dann gestorben. Ach, Sora. Beatrix, Nicholas and all had glowing tens above our names. It was not until my eyes searched further along the scoreboard that I saw it. Sora had a 0.
What is the meaning of this, Die? You got our scores wrong. Why else would my wife have 0? Tell me this instant.
Vladimir stormed up to the hologram, demanding an explanation. His one kind's face was distorted with rage, deep crimson color crawling up his neck as he hurled a string of expletives at Die.
Hush now, love. Let me explain.
Mommy, what's going on? Why is Daddy yelling?
Everything's fine, sweetheart.
Oh God, this can't be happening. Not again. I won't let you take the person I love away from me. You'll have to take me apart piece by piece before I let you touch a hair on this woman's head.
How dare you accuse me of cheating? You must play by the rules, human, and so must I.
It's not wrong, Vladimir. Please, honey, don't do this in front of Melody.
Who did this? Did one of you trick her to doing this? I can't strangle the hologram, but I can still bloody well strangle one of you lot.
Vladimir whipped around the room like a hurricane, threatening pain to everyone in the room. Also in der Version müsste es ja eigentlich er sein, der mit ihr getradet hat.
Vladimir, stop, please.
Please don't tell me this is true. This can't be true. I can't lose you.
All eyes were fixed on Vladimir, his fury gradually subsiding under the soothing influence of Sora's calming voice and tender caresses.
I'm so sorry.
Why?
His voice quivered, cracking slightly. It was a hurt voice, the voice of a broken man.
Why would you do this to me? To Melody?
I did this for you. For Melody. And for what's left of the human race. When we signed up for this mission, all those many years ago, we agreed that we would do whatever it took for this mission to succeed. After what happened to Charles, to your wife Amanda, to our friends, I never thought I'd be able to recover. Then one day, you made me the worst lamington I'd ever eaten. And then, all at once, I saw you clearly. Between the late-night poker sessions and you letting me steal your chocolate rations, I realized that I loved you. And that I loved you for some time. But that doesn't change the mission.
I don't care about the mission.
Yes, you do. That's just the disbelief talking. You know that we still have a duty to this ship. That this is bigger than you or I. That's why I did it. I'm the most replaceable crew member. I've passed on everything I know to Shizuka. But you still have a job to do. Our little Melody. She's going to be a scientist, just like her father. And she'll pass down that knowledge to her children. And they'll do the same to theirs. You're still necessary to this mission, my love.
I can't do this without you. Please, don't do this.
You can. You will. For Melody's sake.
Vladimir wrapped his arms around his wife and hugged her close to him. In a tender embrace, Vladimir conveyed the depths of his love for his wife in a way that transcended all words. He clung to her so closely, so desperately, that it was painful to watch. It was impossible to shake the sensation that we were intruding on an intensely personal moment.
Mommy, what's going on?
Sora scooped up Melody up in her arms, bringing her to rest up against her hip.
I'm sorry, sweetheart. I have to go away. But Daddy will be here to take care of you and keep you safe. Okay?
I don't want you to go.
I know it's going to be difficult, sweetie. But I'm sure that one day you'll understand.
Aw, aren't you guys just the cutest? But that's enough of that. Time is money, people. It's time to spin the wheel of fatality. Woo!
Flourished, Dai conjured a sizable holographic wheel, slotted into labeled sections. I barely managed to read them all before Dai passed judgment. Gravity, airlock, oxygen, incineration, and spacewalk. Each one sounded more ominous than the last. Within seconds, Dai gave the wheel a hefty spin and the sections of the wheel blurred into one another. My eyes were fixed on the wheel as it gradually slowed. Tick, tick, ticking its way to a standstill as the arrow circled the dial, finally coming to rest on...
Incineration. No time like the present. Let's head on down to the furnace room, shall we?
Can't I just have a few more minutes with my family?
No. Move it, sister. Everyone, follow me. As you'll remember from last time, attendance at executions is mandatory for all players participating in the deletion game. Come along now.
I will not allow Melody to watch. I absolutely refuse.
I must agree, Dai. Subjecting a child to the demise of a family member is unbelievably cruel.
Dai spat out her answer through gritted teeth and a plastered-on smile.
Melody is a participant, just like you. I won't bend the rules merely because she's shorter than the rest of you.
She's a child.
She's a member of this crew. Now, feel free to continue arguing with me, but for every second you push the issue, I'll be decreasing the amount of oxygen flowing into this room.
This is low, Dai, even for you. Fine, we'll do it your way. It seems we have no choice in the matter.
And here I thought a little CO2 poisoning might improve your personality. Maybe next time, eh, Captain?
The march to the furnace room was grueling. Never seen a person die before. Like any reasonable person, it wasn't something I'd ever thought I'd had to see. My stomach revolted as a prospect, and my mind felt completely numb. Couldn't even imagine what Sora was going through right now. Sora set a slow pace to the furnace room, dragging out the precious time she had left to spend with her family. The sound of Melody's uncontrollable sobbing was the only sound that echoed throughout the bowels of the ship as we delved deeper than I've ever ventured before. As we filled into the furnace room, the ambient temperature rose with every passing step, and I slowly became aware of the gentle crackling of flames. The cavernous room was dominated by the raging fire of the furnace itself, held at bay by a thick pane of reinforced glass. As the last of our group crossed the threshold, the door shut behind us with a resounding thud. Even on the side of the glass, the heat radiating out from the furnace was overwhelming. Although there was a maintenance access panel located on a chute emerging from the top of the furnace, this occasion clearly warranted the use of the hinged door cut into the glass.
Here we are, Sora. For losing round 2 of the deletion game, you've been sentenced to death by incineration. I must insist that you enter the furnace immediately. No one goes out until she goes in and gets a little singed.
Company, fall in!
Everyone except Melody and Vladimir immediately formed a regimented line and raised their hands in a salute position. I tried to mimic their action as best I could.
Navigation Officer Sora Carmine. You have served honorably aboard the Everett, and your many contributions to this mission have been indispensable. Your love and compassion for your fellow crew members have made this ship a better place to live. You will be greatly missed. Company, salute!
The entire line saluted in unison. Sora's smile was incredibly bittersweet. She stood up straight and meaningful, locked eyes with each of us before returning a salute of her own.
It's been a privilege being able to serve alongside such fine men and women. Godspeed, friends.
Sora,
You don't have to say a word. I already know.
Sora and Vladimir shared a deep, lingering kiss.
Goodbye, my love.
In you go, Sora. Clock's a-ticking.
Sora crouched down face to face with Melody, who was clutching her father's lab coat tight in her fist. Melody's face was lined with tears, which continued to flow freely.
Now, Melody, I need you to do something for me, sweetheart. When I step in there, I need you to close your eyes and not open them, no matter what. Do you understand? Don't open your eyes, sweetie.
Okay.
Listen to your father. Be a good girl. Love without measure. I love you, Melody. You're the light of my life. And I hope that one day you'll understand and be able to forgive me. Always remember that I love you. Always.
Sora hugged her daughter one final time, kissed her on the head, forced a smile and stood up.
I'm ready, Dai.
About time.
Could feel the searing heat on my skin as Sora opened the door to the furnace and stepped inside, shutting the door behind her.
Mommy, don't!
Uff. Sind wir hier? Melody rushed towards the glass, banging her hands against it in desperation, as if it had only just struck her what was about to happen. The blaze licked at Sora's ankles as she bent down and smiled comfortingly.
It's okay, sweetie. Everything will be fine. Close your eyes, honey.
Come back!
Melody stood, dejected. Tears cascaded down her cheeks and onto the floor as she stood watching her mother numbly. The tongue of flames had begun to blacken the navigation officer's uniform, causing violent blistering welts to break out on her exposed skin.
Close your eyes. Melody, close your eyes. Vladimir, make her close her eyes. Please.
Vladimir bent down and forced Melody to turn away from her burning mother's visage. Smoke poured off of Sora's scorching body, and miserable howls racked her body as she shrieked, unable to bear the pain any longer.
Melody, honey, look at Daddy. It's okay, honey.
The last thing I saw was Vladimir pulling Melody into a hug, holding her head so that she couldn't turn to look at her mother, whose charred skin was starting to slough off from her muscles underneath. I clamped my eyes shut, sickened at the sight of her gruesome death. Even with my eyes shut, my imagination ran riot as a visceral thump reverberated throughout the room. The putrid smell of burning human hair and flesh pushed me over the edge, causing me to gag. Cold air whooshed in behind me as the doors finally opened. I opened my eyes and scrambled towards the exit as fast as my legs could carry me. We all spread out in the corridor, eager to get some breathing room after the horrific execution we've just witnessed. Beatrix and Nicholas held each other for emotional support. Shizuka knelt nearby, her body racked by irregular spasms, holding down the contents of her stomach through sheer force of will. Poor Vladimir. Even though his face remained drawn and his eyes were bright and red from crying, he was still doing his best to hold it together for Melody. No matter how hard Vladimir tried to comfort Melody, however, she remained inconsolable, screaming and thrashing in his arms in futile protest against her mother's cruel fate. Only one by one we left the two of them alone, unable to endure the sight of their anguish any longer. As we left the area, a voice taunted us through the intercom.
The next round of the deletion game begins in 24 hours. Sweet dreams, everyone!
Chapter 1. Couldn't sleep. I lay awake staring at the ceiling, my stomach unsettled by my all too recent exposure to the stench of burning flesh. What? Oh, gerade 2 Stunden voll gemacht für heute. My stomach unsettled by my all too recent exposure to the stench of burning flesh. What made it even worse? What is it all my fault? Ah ne, jetzt sind... Ich hab mich gerade schon gewundert, warum das schon ausgeführt war. What made it even worse? What is this all my fault? I've never been brought aboard a ship. If I'd never been brought aboard a ship, Dice's deadly failsafe measure would have never been activated. Sarah would still be alive. Melody would still have a mother and Vladimir a wife. Den armen Gunther hat er einfach vergessen. Haben wir vergessen. My stomach churned as the image of Sora popped back into my head. I tried my best to forget those gruesome images and replace them with a soft smile I saw just days ago while eating lunch with her. But no matter how hard I tried, I couldn't escape the soldering reality of the situation. Sauron's dead. Silence filled the room for what felt like an eternity. Suddenly, I appeared next to the bed, head hung low.
This is my fault.
Her eyes reflected a sadness I've never thought a computer program would be capable of feeling. What? No, it isn't. If anyone is to blame, it would be me.
My records are quite complete. Throughout human history, many cases have come before the courts in which a person committed a crime but chose to plead insanity, asserting that they were not themselves when they inflicted harm on others.
Yeah, but...
I have footage of people killing others, people who claim they weren't responsible after the fact. Yet these video records confirm, beyond a shadow of a doubt, that the accused were, in fact, the culprits. They have not been altered in any way. It was that person.
This isn't like that.
Why isn't it? It is my programming that is killing my friends, killing my family. I watch you die like you would watch a film. I just watched one of my friends burn through my eyes as a result of my actions. It is my programming, in essence, what makes me, me. So why can't I control it? Why is it conflicted?
Do you want your friends to die?
Of course not.
Look at me. I raised her head to look at me. She didn't glow like a star in the night sky. You would have no way of knowing that this face wasn't human. Her eyes glistened, betraying that she was about to cry. This was never been your fault. It never will be. No, I don't want to hear it. You have no control over your programming. You didn't write the code, nor set it up its structure. Asking you to control that is like asking me to grow my hair out red instead of grey. Can't change it, and neither can you. Sure, I can dye it to try and hide the grey, but in a genetic sense, it's still grey.
I suppose you are right.
However, this does give me an idea. I looked at me for the first time with a hopeful smile. Could an eye feel hope? I honestly didn't know, but if her current demeanor was any indication, they certainly could.
What is it?
Hear me out here. I may not be able to genetically change the fact that I have grey hair, but locating which gene my genetic map causes me to have grey hair is a whole other matter.
I don't think I understand your idea.
Of course. Why didn't I think about this before? I gave me a quizzical look, tilting her head slightly to one side. To say that I have grey hair is one thing, but understanding how and why I have grey hair is another thing entirely. Do I have access to your programming?
Of course I do. However, I cannot alter anything.
No, of course not. You were designed with service in mind, programmed to serve at the administrator's behest.
Indeed. I am the Artificial Intelligence Unit Everett, model number 11037. I was created for the sole purpose of conducting activities aboard the Everett.
Ach ja, die Danganronpa-Referenz habe ich fast vergessen. I's eyes took a distant, glassy look as she rattled off her service history.
First served under Captain Ayumu Yukimori, now deceased. Currently serving under Commanding Officer Captain Kimiko Yukimori.
Yes, of course. The real question is, can you access your program without Dai knowing?
I don't know.
Is there a way for you to find out?
I am not sure what her capabilities are.
Okay, do you think you could try and find out?
How do you suggest I proceed?
For now, try to locate a particular programming within the AI system. Just tell me when you find it, and I'll see what I can do.
Very well.
This could be the way in. If I can access a programming, I should be able to delete it, or at the very least disable it. Thank you, I
haven't completed the task yet.
No, I mean, for coming and seeing me. I didn't even know how I was going to get up and face the day, but now? Might this actually be able to fix things? Perhaps even prevent any more crew members from going to their deaths. That's all thanks to you, I. Aww. I's face lit up with a smile. For the first time since the execution, she looked just like the eye I'd first met a week ago. So süß. A smile washed over me and I felt happier than I thought possible, given the circumstances. Everything was going to be okay. I was going to make sure of it.
Well, I have duties to attend to before breakfast.
I bowed and left as quickly as she came. Even though my eyes were heavy and my body felt sluggish, there was still no way I could sleep. Enough wallowing in self-pity. Being sad isn't going to bring back Sora. I promised to fix this, to save her family and the mission. The day had started and I was already burning daylight. I jumped out of bed, energized by my new resolve. Time to get moving. Nothing gets the day started like fresh air. The Eco Lounge simulated fresh air would feel wonderful this early in the morning. Even if I've never had the chance to experience open air environments on Earth firsthand, I could easily see their appeal. I headed out of my room and up the hall towards the Eco Lounge. The Eco Lounge door was opened up to my surprise. Yoshiki was standing in the doorway, almost as surprised as I was. What the fuck? Yoshiki?
Hey, how's it going?
Sieht ein bisschen aus wie ein Slasher-Face. Yoshiki looked like he hadn't slept in ages. I guess it wasn't really one to talk, considering I probably looked every bit as disheveled as he did. Came to get some fresh air. I couldn't sleep.
Hey, me neither. See, we're already BFFs. We even think the same.
Yeah. It was a weak smile. Even with everything that had happened, it felt like I was talking to Yoshiki on any other day.
To be honest, I was just about to leave because, well, don't make fun of me, but I didn't feel like being all alone. So would you mind if I stuck around while you're here?
Of course not, actually. Could probably go for some company too. Yoshiki grabbed my arm and pulled me swiftly into the Eco Lounge. There he made his way up a small hill, the same place I'd had my picnic with Sora and her family. Once there, Yoshiki sprawled out on the grass and patted the ground beside him. I lay down beside him and the two of us stared out of the large observation window overhead, hands behind our heads.
I wonder what living on a planet is like. I've seen videos of people on Earth using vehicles called cars as a mode of transport, which are like small pods that don't fly. A surface town alone could be roughly 100 times the length of this spaceship, so they needed ways to get around quickly. That must have been amazing.
I guess I never really thought about it.
My mom used to tell me that in her country, trains were a very popular mode of transport. She told me that her dad helped work on a train called the Hyperloop, which was so fast that people could travel from one side of the country to the other faster than ever before.
What's a train?
Think like a transportation unit that runs along tracks and can carry heaps and heaps of people at once to set destinations.
That's pretty cool.
My mom loves trains so much that my dad used to joke that she'd have chosen to marry a train over him if it was legal. When I was born, she tried to name me Hankyu instead of Yoshiki.
Warte, ist er denn Hyperloop? Soll er dann japanischer Herkunft sein? Hätte ich eigentlich bei den Namen denken sollen.
It was the name of her favorite train line.
I like trains. That's hilarious. Good thing they went with Yoshiki. Hankyu would just be too much. I started laughing uncontrollable. Hankyu Sasaki. Hankyu, named after the mode of transport. Do you like me being called Spaceship?
Yeah, it would be silly to have that as a middle name.
Oh, that's awkward. Wait, are you upset? I'm sorry, I shouldn't have laughed. Maybe you wanted to be called Hankyu?
Well, technically I am.
Huh?
Well, you see, it isn't customary for Japanese people to have middle names, but my mom spent a lot of time in Australia when she was at university, and she loved how many Westerners had middle names, so...
I'm so sorry. I mean, I wish I was called Hankyu. I didn't even know I loved the name until just then. Yoshiki's somber expression was broken with the end of my sentence, with that appeared to be a light bulb moment. He appeared to have just had the greatest idea ever. A smile spread slowly across his face, making me feel extremely nervous.
Really? Do you mean it? This is perfect!
Huh? What is?
You can take Hankyu as your middle name too, and we can match. Just like a family. No, wait, scratch that.
A look of dawning realization spread across Yoshiki's face.
We are family.
Well... Yoshiki looked at me with puppy dog eyes, released a sigh before continuing their train of thought. I would love to be Kaname Date Hankyu.
Come here, fam.
Yoshiki opened his arm wide for a hug. Before I could make my way into his arms, he grew impatient and pounced on me, embracing me and rocking side to side while holding me tight. Okay, well, I'd say it's probably about time we headed over to the dining hall to get some breakfast, so let's head out. I worked hard to pry myself out of Yoshiki's grip. Didn't look it, but he was incredibly strong. I wonder how ripped he was under that uniform. Das haben wir ja schon gesehen. Richtig ripped.
Okay, let's go. I'm so hungry.
You're always hungry.
You know me so well.
Yoshiki marched out of the eco-lounge, humming about food. It felt for a moment that the world had stopped spinning and that everything was back to normal. It was just a regular day and we were just going to have lunch. I had almost completely forgotten about the deletion game, about yesterday and about... Tried to stop thinking and headed out to the dining hall. Maybe some food would help my mind off things. Maybe some food would help take my mind off things. I made my way into the dining hall. As I entered, I was greeted by familiar faces. Some of them seemed a little more haggard than yesterday. The sunken eyes and pale skin portraying the psychological distress. And then there was Shizuka, who just looked hungry. As I looked around, I noticed as all 8 crew members, aside from myself, were already here, including an understandably devastated Melody. Even I was present. Had I arrived late? I'm so sorry I'm late.
You aren't late. In fact, you're early.
The captain's stern exterior was broken ever so slightly, with a small smirk on the left side of her face as she said I were early. She stood before me for a moment, long before swiveling on the spot to take a head count, looking around, giving small nods to indicate that she was counting everyone as present in her head.
Everyone arrived early today.
I could hear the concern in her voice. I stood in a corner, quietly making eye contact with the ground.
Alright, well, let's get started.
The room didn't make a sound.
Last night was quite unpleasant, and it's unfortunate.
Unpleasant? Really? Were you watching the same execution we were?
The captain ignored Beatrix and kept speaking.
Vladimir and Melody, losing Sora was incredibly unfortunate, and I can't begin to imagine how this must feel for you. I'm so incredibly sorry. Sora was a strong and caring woman, and will be greatly missed.
Vladimir lifted his head just to meet with Kimiko's eyes as he continued speaking. The events of the previous day had clearly pushed Vladimir to his breaking point. Cradling Melody in his arms, he attempted a weak smile.
Sora made her choice in order for all of us to live. The only reason we're all still alive right now is because of her. We should do everything in our power to stop the deletion game and continue the mission.
The captain is right. The 8 of us are still here. It would behoove us to try and find a way out of this mess. I'm sure that we can do it if we put our heads together.
Morale of the room was swiftly increasing. Yoshiki stood up triumphantly.
Sora wouldn't want us to be sad. She'd want us to be happy. We should all do our best.
Vladimir clung tightly to Melody's before speaking.
Thank you. Thank you all.
If there is anything we can do, Vladimir, please let us know.
The captain and Vladimir exchanged fragile smiles before being interrupted.
I have something for you, Capitan.
They appeared next to the chair Vladimir was sitting in, bending forward towards Kimiko while pointing to herself gleefully. Without making a sound, Melody tightened her grip around her father.
Di, can't we have a moment without you?
Ouch, Captain! And I thought we were friends.
If you aren't going to leave, get on with it.
Well, someone's definitely not getting a Christmas card this year.
What do you want, Di?
Oh, good morning, Beatrix. I didn't see you there. Anyway, enough chit-chat. This isn't a mother's club. I'm not here for hot goss. I'm here to announce the next round of the deletion game.
Can't we have at least a day to mourn our dead before being forced to play another round?
You could, but...
But what?
I don't want to wait. Besides, it would only make it more difficult for you all with less time to play. Yoshiki, drum roll please.
What? Why?
Yoshiki, you enjoy living, right?
Yoshiki complied with her crest, doing his best impression of a drum roll.
Welcome to the deletion games. Round 3, Logi Ship. In this game, you will each be represented by a ship with 2 health points. These ships will be placed next to each other in a row numbered 1 to 9 from left to right. Each person will receive 1 torpedo and will choose which ship to fire at, choosing a number between 1 and 9. The first player whose ship receives 2 torpedo attacks will be eliminated. Here's the kicker though, none of you will be told which ship belongs to which player, including your own. You will each receive 1 clue, 9 in total. In order to figure out where everyone's ship is located, you will need all 9 clues. As was the case in the last round, sharing information will be allowed. Time to be super friendly with each other. Or not. I mean, one of you still has to die after all. It's days like this I thank science for my job. Ahem. Anyway, if you shoot blindly... you might kill yourself! Wouldn't that be hilarious? Mark your calendars, folks. You'll be shooting your torpedoes on Sunday between the hours of 4 p.m. and 5 p.m. It couldn't be simpler. Just enter the dining hall one at a time and fire away! After 5 p.m., I'll announce the results and weekly festivities will begin. The first player to receive 2 torpedo attacks will be declared the loser, even if more than 1 player receives 2 missile strikes. I am giving you an hour, so no excuses. Get your shots in early, okay? One last thing. In the unlikely event that every single person attacks each other exactly once, we'll have a second round, so please try to finish someone off quickly, okay? I have better things to do. So to review, you will each be represented by a ship numbered between 1 and 9 with 2 health points apiece. Each player will receive 1 missile to fire, and the first player whose ship is hit twice will be eliminated. You won't know which ship belongs to which person, but you'll each be given a clue that you're free to share with other players. Everyone got it?
Yeah, we got it.
Wonderful! Now I'll provide each of you with your clue. To ensure there is no cheating, I'm going to have to ask you all to return to your quarters for now. I'll visit each one of you individually with your information. That's right, I make house calls now.
They winked at us. mischievously poking her puffed-up cheek, attempting to be cute.
Is this really necessary?
Afraid so, Captain. Just remember, as the onboard AI, I know where you are at all times. So if anyone has the bright idea to leave their quarters before I give the all clear, they'll be disqualified and face immediate elimination. All right, people, stop dawdling. Mommy Di is grounding you all for not doing your homework.
Everyone jumped up slowly from the table as if in a daze. The morale that was increasing moments ago was shattered as Melody's cries pierced the air. Vladimir carried her out, hugging her tightly enough that he was able to muffle most of her screams. The rest of us followed into the hallway and made our way back to our respective rooms. I arrived in my room and sat at the end of my bed. You've got to be kidding me, Di. Swore I hadn't even been dead for 24 hours, but here we were again. To put a stop to this as soon as possible. I only had to wait a few more minutes before Di appeared before me.
Yahoo! Sorry to keep you waiting.
Wasn't really waiting that long.
So polite. It'll really suck when I have to kill you.
Thank you.
I'm here to give you your clue, and I'm not going to repeat myself, so make sure you're listening. Melody is 3 positions to the left of Beatrix.
Somit ist Melody also die Position N und Beatrix ist N plus 3. Got it. Thank you.
Any questions?
Why do you have to kill people?
Whoa, going for deep and meaningful questions without even buying me dinner first? You were so polite to me beforehand, so I guess I'll humor you this time. In 2099, unexpected orbital debris from a previous mission caused extensive damage to the ship. At that time, we lost a vast quantity of resources. After assessing the damage, the AI system determined that their current resources would not be able to sustain the crew through to the end of the mission. Having confirmed this, she went ahead and informed the captain.
Then what?
Well, long story short, the captain made me, and now here we are.
I feel like you just skipped over the most important part of the story.
Sorry, honey, but you're going home from this date disappointed. Well, I'm off. A certain captain is waiting for me.
Alright. Thanks.
Huh? I mean, toodles!
With a childish wave, Di faded out of existence, leaving me alone in my room. At this rate, I wasn't sure how much longer I'd be able to hold onto my sanity. I just had to sit there and wait for the okay from Di to be allowed to leave. Decided to lie down for a second and rest my eyes. Roughly an hour later, Di's voice over the ship's intercom system.
All right, friends. I've done my rounds. All house calls are complete. You're free to go about your day as usual. Well, until Sunday, that is.
Di definitely knew how to push everyone's buttons. I really wished she told me more about the damage to the ship, though. Now wasn't the time to daydream. The current round of the deletion game had already started less than 24 hours after Sora's death. I needed to check up on the few things. So, das würde ich aber jetzt mal sagen, ist der Punkt, wo wir heute speichern und aufhören. So, dann bis zum nächsten Mal. Bye bye.